Today I will be sharing with you my tier list for 4-star DPS in MOC. Please be aware that this is my opinion, and I welcome discussion and discourse on what everyone else thinks. I think the ratings for 4 stars on Pridwin have been good in some regards, and incorrect in others. Some characters are very underrated, even though they haven't been tested out to the degree they should have been. So as a 4-star only player, I wanted to shed some light on what I think are the best DPS for 4-star clears, and if you need elemental coverage and lack a 5-star for certain elements. I will be going in alphabetical order for the characters, and all characters will be judged at their E6 power level. First up will be Arlan. He will go directly in the D tier to begin. What can I say about Arlan other than he will require the maximum amount of effort and give a minimum amount of results? His gimmick of being low health can be quite tricky to play around. He actually has decent damage when he can maintain low health. The problem is getting his health lower in the first place, and the ramp-up time. He also has to compete with Serval, who is super consistent. However, unlike some other units on the list, I do see some potential for him in the future, if he ever gets a unit that enables his Berserker playstyle. Dan Heng or Green. Dan is a solid unit, who will be going into B tier. He has strong ultimate damage, resistance penetration on ultimate and solid multipliers. His talent can be irritating to play around sometimes, especially for healers with AoE ultimates such as Lynx or Natasha. Dan is still good versus single targets. However, the cracks begin to show when he has to face multiple targets. He has no blast or AoE damage at all. Furthermore, his E4 ultimate advance is not super consistent. He's neither remarkably good or bad. He's a solid win unit, especially if DOT is not a playstyle that you like. Guinaifen, one of my favorite 4-star designs. Due to her personal damage and team support through Fire Kiss, she goes into A tier. Guinaifen rocks respectable personal damage through her damage over time and strong burst break effect. She is also very flexible in her consumption of skill points, due to her A2 trace letting her basic attacks apply burn and Fire Kiss. Guinaifen can also proc her burn, DOT, through her ultimate giving her a nice amount of front-loaded damage when needed. Her and Sampo are the core of the 4-star DOT combo. They complement each other well and make use of each other's buffs. She can also be played in a mono-fire team with Gallagher, Asta Hook. You can also further enhance her supportive capabilities if you want to give her the light cone resolution shines as pearls of sweat. A solid and versatile character, you will not regret investing in her. Herta, the queen of pure fiction. However, she is definitely not the queen of MOC. She will be going into C tier. As single target damage becomes more important with beefy enemies like Sam, Herta struggles to keep up with the single target DPS requirements. The only bosses where Herta shines are the ones where the boss keeps summoning more minions, which gives Herta a chance to use her follow-up attacks. However, she has a game mode where she shines in pure fiction. The biggest red flag to me though is, how can her and Misha possibly be the same tier for MOC on Pridwin? I suggest you play both and tell me if that is true. Hook, a solid and reliable DPS, but nothing super remarkable about her. I always put her and Dan Heng in the same tier, so to the B tier she goes. She has decent multipliers, and unlike Dan, she does have conditional blast damage with her empowered skill. She has some startup time if you don't have someone who can apply burn for you beforehand, the damage difference is notable. I do think she's slightly better than Heng, and maybe she can be re-evaluated once we start getting more Fire Week. Floor 12. Luka's stocks have risen quietly. With the arrival of the break effect meta, he will only get better. At first he seemed unremarkable, however, when switched to the break effect build. And with his E6, you can see the super satisfying Giga break numbers. For this reason, he goes to the A tier. He also provides strong toughness bar break. He will be using enhanced autos, which will make his skill point consumption rather low. Lastly, he can detonate his own bleeds for consistent damage. At this point, I consider Luka as the best 4-star physical DPs, but we will discuss this further during Sushang's ranking. Misha, the most underrated character in the game by far, at least in my eyes. He finally provides a solid option for clearing ice weakness floors for 4-star users, something we had lacked. He has fantastic damage output. For that reason, he will be going in the A+ tier. Once you see a fully stacked Misha ultimate drop on an enemy, he simply cannot be in the C tier for MOC, as shown on Pridwin. On top of having superior damage than his peers, he also has nice utility in the form of freeze and defense down. His synergy with Pila is also notable, both of the defense shreds plus additional shred from the resolution light cone. Not to mention her ice resistance shred. He is a unit who will see more love as people finally try him out. Qingque, the gacha gremlin. She's holding strong since the start and her damage is still insane. Qingque will be going into the S tier. The RNG factor of her is overstated, especially now that you can restart between Node 1 and Node 2, plus her E6 makes her skill point economy a lot better. Her insane self-buffs with her skill make her damage multipliers insane, especially if you get auto-key. All of her damage is blast damage with an AoE ultimate. She can easily run through floors, even if the enemy is not quantum weak. Her using enhanced basic attacks also makes her really good for certain turbulences based around enemies being weak to basic attacks. Qingque is still the queen of 4-star DPS for most modes except pure fiction. Sampo, a character who I didn't have properly built for the longest time. I can confidently say he has definitely had a glow up and he belongs in the A tier now. He has strong consistent damage with great toughness break and an AoE ultimate. Once Guinaifen came out, Sampo finally had a 4-star synergy that he could make full use of. Guinaifen is definitely the superior general partner to Sampo rather than Luka. With the combined output of Sampo and Guinaifen, they can clear most floors, and I have been using them to great effect in MOC. I also believe he is the superior wind unit over Heng now, and is probably the best general 4-star Dolty DPS. He is a flexible unit that shines in most content. Serval, my beloved, is the most consistent of the 4-star DPS. I never have to worry when I see lightning weakness. I know that Serval will be able to clear the content. Serval is an A+ tier character. Her ultimate cost is super low, which gives her great synergy with Tingyon, allowing her to ultimate twice back to back. She can also take advantage of Yukong buff timers super well because of this as well, and has natural synergy with Pela due to the AoE nature of them both. She has very strong eidolons that make her quality of life much better, especially E4 applying shock on her ultimate. She is easy to play and very hard to mess up. She is also great in most type of content, and she stands up well, even though she is a 1.0 character. Sushang has had the biggest fall from grace for me. My initial thoughts, as proved by my tier list from 1.1, that she was one of the best 4-star DPS at the time, but she has not aged well in my opinion. She fundamentally lacks damage, and to get her damage to an acceptable level, you have to let her stack up sword stance. She also has the fundamental problem of being a split-scaling character. She wants break effect, but she gets no benefit from it outside of breaking. If you choose an attack-focused build, you lose out on break damage. She is still great at breaking toughness bars and has action forward with her ultimate and speed buffs when enemies are broken. I just think she has trouble clearing floors with enemies who have super high HP. I think Luka just does the break effect playstyle better than her now. For these reasons, Sushang is now in the B tier. Physical Trailblazer. This character is going straight into D. This character does abysmal damage, and you really should never build them unless you really enjoy them. I don't want to waste too much time on this character, but to sum it up, horrible damage numbers, no strong self buffs, has trouble clearing most content. Xueyi has what Sushang wishes she did. She has dual scaling with break effect, which increases the damage of her abilities while building break effect. She also has a strong follow-up attack, which ignores enemy weakness with Eidolons. Her ultimate also ignores enemy weakness type. She can deal with enemies of other weaknesses, but still prefers dealing with quantum weak floors, so she can get karma stacks much quicker. Gearing for her can also be a pain, as she gets benefit from most offensive stats. Her Eidolons are also really insane, especially E4 and E6. I had a hard time placing her. I kept going back between A+ and S. I think currently the A+ tier for her is correct, but I could see me placing her in S in the future. That concludes the 4-star DPS tier list for MOC. Please let me know in the comments if you guys think any characters are rated wrongly. I'd love to hear your opinions. Thank you for watching everyone, and have a wonderful day.